Okay, so let's begin. How would you describe longevity in one sentence?
Longevity is the field that explores how long and how well individuals or species live.
What is your favorite hallmark of aging?
Well, I'm a stem cell biologist, so I have to say stem cell exhaustion. I'd never really thought of that before.
Why did you get into longevity research?
Actually, the work that we were doing on tissue regeneration got us interested because we started to ask the question of why we don't regenerate our tissues well when we're older as we do when we're younger. And so we drifted into aging research from studies of tissue repair.
How many years have you been in this field?
20 years, I would say 25, something
What
like that.
about what about longevity makes you most excited?
What makes me most excited about longevity is the possibility that we can actually alter the trajectory of aging. We can actually potentially have people live healthier for more of their lives.
What is the first challenge you faced when you just started your scientific journey?
Well, there are many challenges. I guess the first big challenge, I guess, was building a lab, meaning starting from four walls and some benches and creating a scientific environment to do research, starting from scratch.
Who was your very first longevity mentor?
You know, honestly, I didn't have a longevity mentor because it came during the time when I was running my own laboratory. So I would I would be hard pressed to kind of identify someone who mentored me early on, but yeah, I'm sure I could think of someone.
Well, the next question would have been, how did you find this first mentor? But instead of that, I'll ask, who was your first mentor in general?
My first mentor in general, if I have to really think of that term broadly, a person who really influenced me was a high school biology teacher who encouraged me to pursue science and encouraged me to do kind of laboratory experiments in the class. And I think that really started me down the course that I'm on now.
What was your favorite aging-related project that you did?
Well, I guess the favorite, maybe most impactful experiment that we did was years ago in the early 2000s, we did experiments with a technique called heterochronic parabiosis. That's a mouthful, but it involved basically connecting animals together surgically, and it allowed us to observe that young blood or blood from young animals seemed to rejuvenate old tissues. So it set us down a course, and also I think the field down a course that we still study today.
What is the best longevity conference you've ever attended?
Best longevity I've ever attended. That'd be a tough one too. I mean, I've been so many. I guess a favorite, it's hard to say it's the best, was when I was at Stanford, we used to have regular meetings of aging research in the San Francisco Bay Area, and there mostly students and postdocs would present, and that was always just a really enjoyable conference.
What is your favorite thing about conferences?
Is interacting with my colleagues and trainees and learning about the science outside of the normal method of publications or presentations, and just sharing ideas informally.
And what's your least favorite thing about conferences?
I guess my least favorite thing about conferences is agendas are usually very, very tight. So you sit through talk after talk after talk after talk, and what people really want to do is talk informally. I mean, it's part of the method of a conference, but it's taxing.
And how many of these research conferences do you attend in 1 year?
Oh, probably 6 or 8.
And what interventions do you use yourself to extend your own life?
I don't use any interventions to extend my life. I'm a long distance runner, and I hope that that extends my life. But I don't do it for that reason. I do it because I enjoy it. But I do hope it extends my health. The other thing I do is I fast. Sorry, I do one thing. I fast 1 day a week, and that probably is specifically because of what I hope are long-term health benefits.
All right, it's my turn. Can you hear me?
Fine, I can hear you fine. Yeah.
All right. So, who was your longevity role model before you entered the field? Like, who inspired you in longevity specifically?
Well, I was inspired by a publication by a kind of a mentor in the muscle biology field. His name was John Faulkner. He's passed away, and they did an experiment of transplanting young cells into old mice and old cells into young mice, and it kind of led us down this way of thinking about how to study aging.
What is something that is on your bucket list, just in general?
I don't really have a bucket list. I kind of do. Let's see. I have to say, I mean, this is very general, but there are many places in the world I haven't visited that I would like to visit, and I would be hard pressed to say there's one in particular. There are so many.
All right. Which longevity drug or supplement do you think is the most interesting one of all?
The most interesting one. Well, I guess the most interesting one in a way is rapamycin, because of its diverse effects and its potential for really enhancing kind of health of individuals despite its toxicities.
Do you think there's a good future for rapamycin ahead, though, just regarding some of the negative side effects?
I think there's a future for the general field of that rapamycin itself as a drug opens. So whether that's the drug itself or something akin to it, I think yes, there's definitely a future there.
Awesome. I apologize. I'm having some technical difficulties. My screen is frozen. So if someone else
Yeah,
could
I
jump
can.
in.
Oh, actually, Michelle, do you want to take over?
Yes. At what time of the day are you most inspired to do longevity research?
I think I'm most inspired to do most things early in the morning. So that's what I think most clearly, and I'm most inspired.
Which country do you think is in the lead for longevity research?
Which country is the lead?
Yeah.
Well, I think the U.S. just because of the size of the community, of the research community. This is not a judgment of quality. This is just the amount of research that gets done.
This is a kind of out of the box question, but if longevity was an object, what would it be?
It would be, if longevity was an object, what would it be? You should have sent me that question ahead of time. What would it be? It would be an object that looked immovable but actually was not.
What do you think is the next biggest step in longevity research?
I think that the next biggest step will be for the community to come to a consensus as to what measures of longevity are most reliable for using when we're testing interventions, whether it's drugs or supplements or diet or exercise, to ask, are we actually altering the course, the trajectory of aging, the aging process?
For the longevity community, what do you think is the #1 social media?
I think it's still Twitter, I think.
Which government do you think will be most financially supportive of longevity research?
I think not so much in terms of amount of funding, but in terms of commitment for the size of the country. I think there's just a lot more interest in Southeast Asia in really investing in longevity research for their population than elsewhere. So there are several countries in Southeast Asia that I would put in that category.
When do you think humans will be able to live over 150 years?
Never.
What is your favorite model organism for research?
The model organism that we use almost exclusively is mice. So I would have to say that's my favorite.
What is your biggest strength with regards to longevity?
My biggest strength?
Yeah.
My personal biggest strength? I think it's that I have I come from a perspective of sort of cell and tissue biology. And so I really focus on the biochemical processes of cellular aging, and the possibility of rejuvenation. So that's the topic that I think about the most. So I'd have to say that's hopefully my biggest strength.
Mm-hmm. For people getting into the field, what do you think is a must-read longevity publication?
The what?
For people getting into the field, what is a must-read longevity publication?
A must read. Again, there are so many. I hate to put one.
Or give a couple, if there's a couple.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on that one. There are just too many. I would, in fact, I would not want anybody to say there's one must read. It would be, I think, a disservice to say this is the one I think you have to read broadly.
What part of journal publishing is most exciting to you?
Journal publishing is exciting. I mean, I guess the most exciting moment, of course, for the student postdoc is when the paper gets accepted.
And I know you said that there's not one must-read publication. What about a book? Is there a must-read longevity book?
I'm going to give you the same answer. There are many books that cover longevity from very different perspectives, and I think the important thing would be to try and balance them and not single one out as being the best perspective.
All right, I'm
We
back.
Where are we? Number 37, or where are we?
I think we're at number 30.
Oh, only, gosh, okay.
We're at number 30. What do you think is one of the most impactful, either one of your studies or another study in the longevity field, like some of the most impactful studies that have been done?
I guess the most impactful studies that have been done have been those that show either pharmacologically or genetically or lifestyle for animals interventions that extend lifespan and health span. Again, those are the ones that show that aging is not immutable, but actually potentially we can intervene to alter the course.
Cool. And now another out of the box, unscientific related question. What high school did you go to, and where was it?
It's an easy one. Okay. I went to Lewiston High School in Lewiston, Maine, in the U.S., which is in a small town in the northeast of the United States.
Awesome. And I would guess your favorite subject was biology.
Actually, my favorite subject was mathematics.
Mathematics. Very cool. And then how would you describe a day in your work life now?
Hectic.
What's your favorite part of your everyday?
My favorite part of any day is the time I get to sit and talk to my students and my postdoctoral fellows and talk about their research findings and discuss experiments with them.
Awesome. And then what percentage of your friends do have something to do with longevity and are in that field?
A percentage of my friends. Is that what you asked?
Yeah, like how friendly are you with other longevity researchers and like?
I mean, I would say, again, they're friends and colleagues, and I'm very, very close with many people in the longevity field as friends and colleagues.
Awesome. And then for your personal sort of longevity related, how much sleep do you get on an average day?
Not enough. Probably 5 to 6, and that's not enough. I should get more, and I wish I could.
Do you think sleep is important in longevity and prolonging health span and lifespan?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And then what do you do for your mental longevity slash mental health and keeping a good mindset?
I think that the thing that I do that is probably most beneficial again is when is my running. So, you know, I run long distance, and so I have plenty of time to think and ruminate on the challenges of the day and the challenges of the future. And I think that probably does more for my mental health than anything.
Do you compete? Just curious, do you compete like
Yeah, I mean, I
in
run many
marathons?
marathons. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. And then what are your top three favorite slash healthy foods?
Three favorite slash healthy foods. Again, I don't eat specific foods for longevity, but my top three favorite foods for health and longevity. Is that that
Yeah.
question? I guess I would have to say I'm a big fan of green vegetables. I mean, just generally, I eat them every day. I'm a big fan of berries, which I eat not every day, but very regularly. And I eat quite a bit of fish.
What's your favorite type of fish?
Black cod, maybe.
Cool. And then where's the border between youth and like not youth, between like kid and adult, do you think?
Um, so I guess, you know, so it's a good question. So the border between kid and adult is, you know, in humans, say, it's at that sort of border of maturity where a person stops growing, stops. Again, there's no clear border because different tissues age, you know, they reach maturity at different levels. But I would say, you know, early 20s, late teens is where that if you're going to study a young adult as opposed to a growing child, you have to reach at least that kind of 20s, if not early 30s, as a starting point for seeing when the changes that follow are changes of aging as opposed to changes of development or maturation.
Awesome. And then what is one thing you've always wanted to investigate in science and haven't gotten the chance to do yet?
I mean, so I'm actually looking to basically start investigating this that I'm looking forward to, which is how organisms respond to extreme environments, like the absence of water, absence of food, extreme cold. And there are just such great examples across nature of how different organisms adapt to extraordinary, extreme conditions. And I think it tells us something about the biology of aging, actually.
And then this is for our high school listeners. What are the top three qualities you look in a future employee or someone to come into your lab?
Sorry, the top three colleges. I didn't
No,
understand.
top three qualities for like an employee that you look for.
Sorry. Thank you. I'm glad. I would say dedication, curiosity, and motivation.
And then what is one thing you wish you knew when you were in high school and when you were younger?
Which I knew.
Like you could go back and tell yourself something. What would you tell yourself?
That as hard as things may seem, don't ever give up.
And then if you could have any number of hours in your day, how many would you want to have?
As many as possible.
Awesome. And then last one for me, is there one thing you found super useful in your years being in university?
In my what? In my university? In my
While you're attending university school?
that was useful for me when I was in university.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, so many things. I guess in terms of career, what was useful to me was the opportunity to, as an undergraduate, to work in a laboratory. And it was and I try to extend that as many undergraduates as I can, because it changed, again, the course of my life and career by realizing that I love to do experimental science.
Awesome.
What is one way technology has helped you in your life?
I guess one way is it's just allowed me to be a lot more efficient with my time. when I think of, again, you're all too young, but when I think of the time we spent typing, and just the ability to do things far more quickly and efficiently, so you can focus on the things you want to do as opposed to the process of doing them.
If you could change some career decision you made earlier in your life, what would it be?
I don't think I would change anything. I think that, again, the course would have been different, but I can't say that it would ever have been better. So I'm quite happy with the choices that I've made.
What is one thing high schoolers should avoid in a longevity career?
I think one thing high schoolers, or for that matter, anyone should avoid, is getting stuck in the idea that one idea is correct, and really to keep an open mind that ideas that even seem unlikely or difficult to study might still be true. And I think the biggest risk is commitment to one idea as a paradigm.
And who's your number one collaborator in the longevity field?
Again, I have several, so I hate to pick on one person. So I would say my primary collaborators in the longevity field are Tony Weiss-Corey at Stanford and Anne Brunet at Stanford.
What is a conference you've always dreamt of speaking at?
I think I've spoken at I can't think of a conference that I have wanted to speak at that I have not spoken at, so it's hard for me to answer that one.
What is your favorite exercise?
Running.
How does a productive morning start for you?
Running. So it's the first thing I do. I get up and I run. Sorry.
What is your idea of a perfect collaboration?
A perfect collaboration is one that in which the say two collaborators complement each other, disagree, and find ways to move forward in a positive way when they disagree.
What is something you're tired of in research?
The process of publishing.
What are your top 5 priorities as a longevity scientist?
My top priorities?
5 priorities.
5 priorities. Well, to always do rigorous research, to have an impact on the field, to do, so that is to do important research that will have an impact, to keep an open mind with regard to where the field is going, because I think it's still a very young field, to mentor the next generation of longevity scientists. I think that's 4. And I'll leave it at 4.
And what have you had to let go of in your career?
I mean, again, I think we all have to let go of things we would like to do, but just have time to do. I mean, there are always projects that are that have great potential. And if we had more time, people, more space, we would do. But I think that's letting things go. That who knows, might be the next big breakthrough.
And if you could change the longevity industry in one way, what would it be?
The industry, and when you say industry, do you mean the whole field or actually industrial?
Industrial.
Like industrial. I think within the context of the industry and companies, what I would wish for is that the investors had a longer time horizon, because the longevity field is a difficult field and investors typically want to have early returns on their investment. And I think that can limit the kind of research that gets done in companies that focus on aging research.
What technologies are we currently missing to advance longevity research?
I think, again, it's hard to know where technology goes, but a technology that could quickly and quantitatively measure the health of an organism would dramatically change the pace of research in longevity research.
And Sophie, do you want to take over?
So I'm sorry, I just have a few minutes left, just so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I've missed a bit of the interview, but what are your future research areas that you'd like to go into?
So we mentioned one as, like I said, which is kind of research on extreme conditions and how that impacts individual organisms. We're very interested in, which we're doing now, but we're interested in epigenetics in terms of the aging process and rejuvenation. So those are a couple that we're very much looking forward to either continuing in or starting.
And then what is an essential thing to include in a good publication?
I think a clear statement of what motivates the research and how one interprets the findings. I mean, often papers will be published in which the findings are presented without really the right context. And I think it makes it difficult for many people to put it in context in the broader field. So I think in addition to obviously the quality of the data is the context of the research.
And so what is your favorite publication then?
So I think we did cover that, and I refuse to answer because I think, again, I wouldn't want there to be a publication that was highlighted above all others. There's so many important publications.
What is your favorite educational resource?
Educational resource. I mean, I guess the internet. I mean, just when I think of how we disseminated and acquired information before that, it was extraordinarily slow and inefficient and idiosyncratic. Not that the internet is highly organized, but I think it just allows for dissemination of information, education in a way that was unthinkable, a generation ago.
And then I have just a few more. Where would you think longevity research is in 100 years?
Well, that's a good question. Where will it be? I mean, I think that there will always be, it will never be solved, as in, we'll never have kind of solved the questions of aging. And so in some ways, that's one of the beauties of the field, is that I think we will always be studying how to enhance health span, enhance people's ability to live long, healthy lives. And there will always be an interest in living longer. So I think these are questions that we pose now, and I would predict that in 100 years we will still be asking them.
Okay, and then if you had to describe longevity research in 3 words, what would those words be?
In 3 words, in 3 continuous words, or just 3 independent words?
You can choose.
Okay, I would say longevity research is nascent, meaning it's an early stage, it's an early field. It's challenging and it's unpredictable.
Thank you, Dr. Rando, for the interview today. We really appreciate for your time. Is it okay if we take a group photo?
Sure.
Thank you. So I'll take it in 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Thank you so much.
I actually just had a random question. You